Welcome to Living a Graceful Life. I'm Denise Medved, your host. I'm also the creator and founder of the Ageless Grace Brain Health Program worldwide in 50 US states and 30 other countries. I'm here to remind you that it's never too late to begin making choices to live the life that you want to live. In previous episodes, we've talked about how the mind, the body, the brain, the emotions, the spirit are all interconnected. They are part of what makes us human. They're part of what makes us us. And so each thing affects the other thing. When I'm mentally distracted and I'm mulling something over or I'm worrying about something, it can often affect my body or my emotions or my spirit. Any one of those things, which is all part of us, has a profound effect on the other. Tonight, we're here to talk about the spirit or the spiritual self. They're actually two different things. The spiritual self or spirituality are typically defined as something that has to do with a greater power, a higher consciousness, a divine force that is greater than ourselves. And it's typically practiced through rituals like prayer or meditation or dancing, sacred dance. All of those things are often spirituality, which is typically a practice that we do for ourselves, depending on our beliefs. And it has nothing to do with a specific religion. It's across all religions and beliefs that they have spiritual practices that we do that nourish us spiritually. Now, on the other hand, what we're going to talk about in this episode is the spirit. I once heard it defined as the thumbprint of you, the unique thumbprint, not the physical thumbprint, but an invisible thumbprint that defines your spirit, that is uniquely yours and belongs to no one else. So let's look at the word spirit first. I love to go back to the source of a word to help understand it, because that goes across all nations, all beliefs, all nationalities, cultures, and languages. So the root of the word spirit comes from spiritus, which is Latin for breath. Think about that. It is the life force that is in you that makes you you. It is what makes you unique. It's the animating force. And that also comes from the word anima, which means the life force, the vitality, the essence of. So all of those words describe your spirit. It's unique, it's different, and it has an expression of who you are. In simpler terms, we might call it the personality, or we might call it the emotional expression, or we might call it the accomplishments or the accoutrement of what it is we do. The reality is that spirit of you is, again, your invisible essence. It's not your body. It's not your brain. It's not even something that you can plan. It's something you could develop, but more importantly, your spirit is something that requires nourishment to stay alive. And of course, anima and spiritus are about being alive, breath, animated, having life force. So how do we nourish our spirits? Well, let's look first and ask ourselves a few questions. It's very important for you to define your own spirit. What is it that nourishes you, that causes you to come alive, that makes your eyes twinkle, that makes your personality sparkle? What is it that animates you in such a way that you feel alive. Now, very often when you feel alive and animated, when your spirit is being nourished, that also translates to others around you, how they might feel your presence or describe you. So it could be a calm and peaceful spirit. It could be a wise and discerning spirit. It could be an excitable and uplifting and sparkling spirit. What is your spirit? It may be many things. It may be several of those things. It may be none of the things that I just described. Write down on a piece of paper, if you have one handy, or get one, some of the things that you think would describe your spirit. The next question is, are you doing things to nourish that spirit, to keep it alive, to keep it buoyant, to keep it uplifted? We use terms like, oh, that lifted my spirits, or oh, she was in good spirits. But do we know what that really means? What uplifts your spirits? So on a daily basis, are you doing responsibilities, duties? Are you being loyal? Are you being precise and efficient? Do those things nourish your spirit? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Women are especially great at being responsible, at taking care of business, so to speak. What is it we need to do? What do our families need? What do our employees need? What do our associates need? What does our spouse need? What do our children need, etc.? What do the pets need? What does the house need? All of those things often come first before nourishing our own spirits. So ask yourself, is what I'm doing on a daily basis nourishing my spirit? Did I used to do things that nourish my spirit? Have I stopped doing those things? Am I so busy that the things that nourish the spirit of me have sort of fallen by the wayside? If your answer is yes to those things, if your answer is no, I don't include those things in my life as much as I used to, or I don't include those things at all, then the next question is to ask ourselves, how can we include those things in our lives? And what would they look like if we included them? I can't talk about you because I don't know you personally, even though I would like to, but I can talk a little about myself. And I can tell you that the early part of my life, I loved stories. I loved having my mother or my grandmother read stories to me or tell me stories. I loved writing stories as soon as I could write. I loved writing down my thoughts and my emotions. I liked writing poetry. I wrote a lot. Then it so happens that I took a career that involved a lot of writing, except it was business writing. It was writing for someone else. And somewhere in there, I realized this is fine. I enjoy it better than most things I could do as a career. However, this isn't nourishing my spirit as much as another kind of writing might do. So I started journaling and writing down my thoughts and my ideas and writing down beautiful things that inspired me, that made me feel good. I started writing down about what nourishes my spirit. And then along the way, I had people in my life that I decided were more important than me as far as nourishing my spirit. And the journaling and the writing stopped, except for the business writing. So what I did recently, about 1.5 to 2 years ago, is I signed up for a course, which surprised even me, called Journey to Legacy with Joanna Klein, who's another show host on the Win Win Women TV channels. And I thought I was doing it to get some good facts about my life and what had happened in my life, because there's some interesting things that have happened along the way, quite a few. And I thought I was going to write those things down for my grandchildren. But as I started writing, I remembered, this nourishes my spirit. I love storytelling. I love putting my emotions and my feelings and my beliefs and my attitudes and my experiences down on a piece of paper. It was my way to nourish my spirit. It was one way, but a big way that meant a lot to me. And so I've rediscovered writing for myself. Will I ever show it to someone else? Maybe even a lot of people. But what's important is that it makes me feel alive. It makes me feel nourished. It makes me happy. It feeds one of my passions, which is writing. So there's one example of a way to nourish your spirit. Writing may not be what it is that animates you or lifts you up or causes you to come alive, but there may be something else that you can substitute for the word writing. Here's another one of my passions that gives me life force and energy and vitality, that wakes up my spirit and lifts it up higher and higher. Music. I love music. I started at a very young age playing the piano and singing and dancing around the house, even though I wasn't trained. And then later I began to take piano training and singing and being part of choirs and concerts and musicals and shows and plays and dance. And then somewhere along the line, I got very busy, and the music was not quite as important in my life. It's never been completely absent, but it has taken a very diminished role at different times. And I realized how important it was to me. So I incorporated, not that long ago, just a few years ago, some music into my life by organizing a singing group. We're called the Joyful Noise Singers, which implies, and it's true, that you don't have to have the most beautiful voice. You don't have to be a professional. There are no auditions. If you like to sing, you can be in our group. And it allowed me a chance to play the piano and to sing with others. And it lifted my spirits tremendously to be able to do that. More importantly, it gave me a chance to interact with community, other people. And that is one of the highest expressions of our spirit. When we're able to share what it is that brings us to life, that lights up our spirits, it is empowering, and it sort of multiplies the sensation of feeding our own spirits or nourishing them. So the group I call the Joyful Noise Singers now not only sings together, we go to residential communities, retirement communities, nursing homes, skilled nursing care, assisted living, memory care. And we not only sing, we invite them to sing along with us. We make playlists, and we write out the words and hand out word lists and song lists and ask people to sing along with us. So not only do we get the joy and pleasure of singing ourselves, of making music, of being part of a musical event, but we're also helping to animate the spirits of other people by involving them in what we're doing. It's a simple thing. We're not on YouTube. We're not professionals, but guess what? It nourishes my spirit, and it takes very little time and very little effort, and it means a lot to me to be able to do that. So think about what might nourish your spirit, or think about back in your childhood, early development years. What was it that you loved to do that you may no longer be doing? Because there are lots of ways to nourish your spirit, a passion, a hobby, something that makes you happy, that doesn't have to be involving a lot of other people, or that doesn't require you to take hours out of your day. Just like the two things I mentioned, a little writing here and there, a little singing here and there, it makes my whole life much happier and much more pleasant. Pleasure, I like to call the pleasure quotient what we're talking about doing right now, that animating force that nourishes our spirit. How much pleasure quotient is in your life? It has a lot to do with your attitude. It has a lot to do with your emotions. It has a lot to do with how your brain functions. It has a lot to do with how healthy your body is. It has a lot to do with whether or not you decide you want to incorporate a spiritual practice or re-invite one into your life. So nourishing your own spirit is a place to begin to make all of you happier, healthier, and more balanced. Thinking back to my childhood, again, one of the things that I loved was music. And it was fun, and it was mostly for me. And my mom would play the piano, and my dad would sing, and I would sing along, or I would play the piano. It was a part of my life. I sang in my church. I sang in groups at school when I was in elementary school, lower level grades. But when I got to high school, I had a choir director who really encouraged me, who noticed how much it animated me to make music. He noticed that I loved to play the piano. He loved that I loved to sing. And so I was invited to play the piano for musical events. I was invited to be part of choirs and musical plays and productions. And that same music teacher has a wife, who is a piano teacher. And he encouraged me to take more piano lessons and really deepen and widen my love of music that nourished me. So I did. Those two people are huge influencers in my life, Kenton and Becky Kidd. What's interesting is that I just talked to them on the phone today and reconnected them after many years. They're in their 80s now, and they're still making music and influencing lives and helping mold and shape the spirits of many people. So don't forget that when you find something that nourishes your spirit, maybe there's a way you can share it in community, because that is a very healthy aspect of nourishing your own spirit, sharing it with others. Now, one of the things that nourishes my spirit is movement. I love to dance. I love to move. It makes my body feel good. It activates my brain. And of course, that influences my emotions, my attitudes, and it lifts up my spirit. So the Ageless Grace tool that we're going to do tonight, always to music, because music does lift our spirits, especially if it's something that you like personally, especially if it's something that's upbeat or that calms you down or that gives you some kind of personal nourishment. So one of the tools is called Front Row Orchestra, because there are two things I think of when I think of things that nourish our spirits. One is music on some level or another, making music, playing an instrument, singing, listening to music, dancing to music. Many people have that in common as a way to, or one way to nourish their spirits. Another one is sports. I'll call it that, but physical activities. It could be dancing, but it could also be playing tennis, or it could be swimming or something else. So think of the things that nourish you and see if you can incorporate more into your life. A simple way to do that is to act it out with your body and move to music. And maybe it'll remind you that, oh yeah, I really did love to play tennis, or I really did love to dance. So we're going to act out Front Row Orchestra, which is playing different musical instruments. And maybe you used to play a musical instrument, but you haven't in a long time. Or maybe you play a musical instrument, but you always wanted to learn another one. Or maybe you've never played a musical instrument, but you do love music and you do enjoy it. And so you want to pretend with me that you're playing a musical instrument. And at the same time, you'll be activating all those primary functions of your brain that makes your brain sharper, that makes your body more responsive, that causes positive chemicals to be made in the brain, that causes positive emotions. See how it's all interconnected? Yeah. And then at the bottom line, it nourishes your spirit. So here we go. We're going to do a little bit of front row orchestra. Join me. Get comfortable. I always am. I'm always in my bare feet. I'm always in a comfortable chair. I always have on loose, comfortable clothing. So join me as we move and do a little front row orchestra. Let's see what happens to our spirits. Hear that? Those are drums. So tap your feet and play the drum set. Now see, I always wanted to play the drum set. So now's my chance. You can close your eyes and get into the music. You can tap both feet or one. You can let your whole body kind of move and groove. Now, I suspect that many of you have played air guitar in your room, privately and secretly, when you were younger. So let's play a little guitar. You can imagine that you're a famous rock star, or you can imagine that you are a famous rock star that you like. Now let's switch sides. That might remind you of a guitarist who plays lefty. You can really think about it. You can play chords with one hand. You can strum the strings. You can tap one foot or two. Now how we play the stand-up bass, the bass fiddle. So get comfy in your chair. That's a big instrument, the bass fiddle. Play those chords up at the top. Strum those bass chords at the bottom. Boom, 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 boom. Bass strings. Boom, 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 boom. And you have to look cool, because I personally have never met a bass player who wasn't very cool. Are you smiling while you're imagining, while you're pretending, and lighting up your brain? Switch sides. Bass fiddle, contrabass. Are you still tapping a foot? Is your body moving? Have you ever wanted to play the cymbals? For example, let's crash the cymbal. Boom, 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 boom. Or maybe you've always dreamed of being in a marching band and playing the bass drum. Are you ready? March and boom, boom, boom. You know, it goes this way on your chest. Boom, 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 boom. How about the flute? All right. Now, I don't know about you, but I feel more animated, more alive, more full of energy, more full of life force from just playing that simple game, that using that simple tool to wake myself up. And if you actually have played an instrument or would like to play an instrument or used to play an instrument, then that probably animated your spirit even more than if we were doing something that wasn't one of your passions, one of your pleasures, one of the things that causes you to feel alive, right? So thank you for practicing a little ageless grace with me, and I hope that it gave you the same kind of energy it gave me. If you want to know more about the 21 different tools that activate the brain, the body, the spirit, the emotions, you can go to agelessgrace.com, agelessgrace.com. And there are handouts, there are video clips, there are blog articles, all types of materials to help you be able to practice this kind of fun, uplifting game at home for yourself. And there are also seminars, classes, workshops, and even a certification of 14 hours that you can do on Zoom, wherever you are in the world, that would certify you to be able to teach these types of tools and exercises to other people and share them in community, which we already established as such an important part of expressing our spirit and nourishing it. So I hope that you have made a list or two of what is your spirit, how would you describe it, what are the things that might nourish your spirit, are you including those things in your daily life, or are you putting responsibilities and duties and other things in front of nourishing your spirit? One of the ways to do that, because many people say, oh, I'm just so busy. You have no idea what my life is like. How would I have time to nourish my spirit? I have children, I have a job, I have pets, I have a husband, I have a house, I have all these things that keep me from doing the things that make me feel more alive. Use a calendar. It could be your phone that has a daily calendar in it. It could be a written calendar. It could be a calendar that you have on your wall, for example. Write yourself in. Don't just put your name. Put the activity that you want to do that you are quite sure will nourish your spirit. Something that you did as a child, something that makes your eyes light up, something that feeds you, that lifts your attitude, not only your spirit. Write it in. How often should you write it in? Well, if it were left up to me, I would tell you at least once a day. But let's take baby steps at first. What if you write in something that nourishes your spirit 1 hour a week? But keep that date with yourself. Keep that date. Make an appointment. Put it in 2 o'clock Wednesday. You're going to do this specific thing that nourishes you. Whatever it is, there's nothing too silly, too small, too ridiculous. It might be pulling the shades down in your house and dancing like a fool to a song that you have on Spotify or Pandora or some kind of online music, or maybe it's to vinyl or a CD player. There's nothing too ridiculous for you to do as long as it nourishes your spirit. So try it once a week. And then after you get in the habit of doing that, which takes a minimum of 21 days, by the way, maybe you'll do it twice a week. Maybe you will build up to doing something that nourishes you every single day, even if it's just for 15 or 30 minutes. Very important, not only to yourself, but if you feel responsible to others, if you have duties and obligations to others, I bet that nourishing yourself will make you more pleasant to be around, that will make you more enjoyable to work with, that will make your children or your family or friends more happy to be around you. Because when we nourish our spirits, it in turn nourishes the people that are around us. Thank you so much for joining me. This is Living a Graceful Life. And I'm here to remind you that it's never too late to make choices to live the life that you want to live. So what if you were to start tomorrow and do one thing that nourishes yourself? Something that would lift your spirits, something that would make you feel as if you're expressing who you really are. I think that if we all did that together, we would change the world for good.